Man, oh man, is it ever a doozy for Call of Duty news today. We got the Black Ops 6 new Zombies trailer. We got the entire blog post, which that stuff is going to be posted over on Ink TV, which is linked down below. And then we got the cinematic trailer for Season 3.
The company's compromised.
I am not kidding. Changes the entire story for not only Black Ops 6.
Almost missed him. Almost.
But all of Black Ops. Like, this is an insane, like insanity cutscene, and it's gonna take a lot of explanation.
So you're gonna have to clean up my unfinished business.
But we're gonna break it down, and I'm gonna explain to you what this means for the entire story of not just Black Ops 6, but all of Black Ops, and even moving into Modern Warfare, and potentially even Verdansk, because we're gonna be getting into some theories as well. So without further ado, let me show you the cutscene.
If you're watching this, guess I didn't make it through. Tough shit. Something stinks around here. I couldn't put my finger on it. But now, the company's compromised. Don't think it's Menendez or the Russians or any state actor. Could be goddamn men from Mars for all I know. They're crafty. Use war and chaos to mask their stench. But once I caught a whiff, they've been in our shadow for years. All through Vietnam. Afghanistan. Russia. Even the goddamn number station. Whoever they are, they've done a hell of a job covering their tracks. Almost missed them. Almost. Putting together a file. Code names, missing documents. I didn't get the chance to hunt these bastards down. So you're gonna have to clean up my unfinished business.
Holy moly. So Jason Hudson is speaking to us via a VHS from Beyond the Grave. And just quickly to go over that, we were showing a VHS tape at the ending of the Season 2 cutscene. And this one was essentially filmed 1 month before the Panama invasion. Now, if you didn't already know, during the Panama invasion, Jason Hudson was killed by Raul Menendez. But based off of this tape, it seems as though Jason Hudson actually knew that something was awry this entire time and maybe had a little bit of suspicion that he might be killed. And in fact, as we know, he was by Raul Menendez. However, he said this.
The company's compromised. Don't think it's Menendez or the Russians or any state actor. Could be goddamn men from Mars for all I know.
So you heard it here first. The next Call of Duty game is Aliens confirmed. No, but in all seriousness, this is interesting because he essentially says it's not the Russians, so that eliminates Perseus. It is not Menendez, who we thought it was, so it is someone else. So who does that leave other than Pantheon? But here's the thing. I thought Pantheon was working for Raul Menendez. Well, it might not be the case. We'll come back to that one.
They're crafty. Use war and chaos to mask their stench. But once I caught a whiff, they've been in our shadow for years.
So what he's saying is they use war as a distraction so they can be in there pulling all of the strings. Now, again, assuming that this is Pantheon, which is, I believe, where they're pushing with this, that Pantheon was around all the way in 1968, where they show us one of the maps that is going to be coming in multiplayer, which is the number station from Call of Duty Black Ops 1. This was the final mission. It was the Rusalka, the boat that you then sink into the Gulf of Mexico, or maybe it's the Gulf of America, but somehow this mysterious group was there. Then they show us 1970 in Vietnam. Now, this is super interesting because when we were in Vietnam with Alex Mason and Frank Woods in Black Ops 1, it was 1968. In fact, even the mission in Black Ops Cold War took place in 1968 as well. So this being in the 1970s, why would it be here? Well, the only thing that we could know is that Indeed, Jason Hudson went back to Vietnam after the events of Black Ops 1, meaning that everything that we are seeing here is actually from Jason Hudson's memories and probably in that dossier that we're seeing on the desk. Now, each of these maps goes through a different time period, the next of which is in Afghanistan in 1986, once again an area that Jason Hudson was. In fact, this was the first time that Hudson even heard of there being a mole within the CIA.
Menendez wants to see the world burn. But that's not gonna happen. Oh. He's more powerful than you know. He even has people in the CIA.
Bullshit! This guy's fucking with us.
So seemingly each of these areas, each of these maps that are all maps within the Black Ops 6 multiplayer are in Jason Hudson's memories in those time periods. However, the one that doesn't line up with this is the last one that he shows. This is a KGB Safehouse in Russia, kind of similar to what we saw with the Rook within the Black Ops 6 campaign. However, this takes place in the year 1991. In other words, 2 years after Jason Hudson died, which means he had to be here previously. This is the one map that takes place at present day, and in the Black Ops 6 Season 3 blog post, we found out this. The map is called Haven, and the description is, enter a KGB safe house in 1991. This once opulent compound now sits in a dilapidated state of disrepair, overgrown and cracking apart at the seams. Its current owners, however, are less interested in aesthetics and more interested in the site's former use. In other words, our new people who are here are our rogue Black Ops agents trying to figure out what Jason Hudson knew was going on here. This is going to be the map to look out for Easter eggs and information about Pantheon and about the overall story. And also, by the way, this mysterious group that Jason Hudson's talking about in the cutscene is also confirmed to be Pantheon in the blog post, as they are mentioned on each of the multiplayer maps that he's talking about within the cutscene. So what this confirms is that Pantheon has been there from the very beginning. Back in Black Ops 1 in the year 1968, Pantheon was there. In the 70s throughout Vietnam, they were there. In the 80s in the Cold War while fighting against Russia, they were there. But guess what? They are not just a rogue group within the CIA, because in the very first mission of the Black Ops 6 campaign, Alawi is talking to our CIA agents and says this.
Who are these people?
The Pantheon is composed of former European and US operatives. I don't know who leads them.
They're blocking.
So we never knew who led Pantheon, and not only that, we also were learning that they were somehow inside the KGB, which leads us back to that mission within Black Ops Cold War, where we're sitting around that table. We see Imran Zakhaev, we see Kravchenko, we see all of these Russian dignitaries. Were any of them actually in Pantheon at the time? Not just Perseus? There was multiple organizations we had to be worried about, because based off of everything we're hearing, Perseus and Pantheon are two very different entities, at least what we know of it as of right now. But as Hudson says,
The company's compromised. Don't think it's Menendez or the Russians or any state actor.
so the original thought is that Menendez had people within the CIA. However, what may have actually been the case is that Menendez was working for Pantheon. Pantheon wasn't working for Menendez, which means Pantheon would be the largest group that we have ever dealt with within the game. Now, let's see how this would potentially tie in to the rest of the Black Ops 6 story, into Black Ops 7, and even Verdansk. So this is where we get into the theory side of things. So first things first, as far as Season 3 goes, we are following the memories and the files of Jason Hudson to figure out what he knew about Pantheon and what the silver bullet is that we can figure out who they are, who's leading them, who they're working for, and everything in between. Now, theory-wise, so first things first, Verdansk, we have a cornucopia of characters in the Verdansk promotion. We have characters from the Modern Warfare series, so in other words, from the year 2020 plus. We have Jason Hudson, who died in 1989. So how can we have characters from both time periods? Well, in the blog post for Verdansk yesterday, they put in information about intel that you might find around the map. And what I'm willing to bet is we are going to find out a lot of information about what happened on Verdansk after 1984, when we last saw it with Stitch, and now maybe around the year 1989 when Jason Hudson started to get information about Pantheon. I think scattered throughout Verdansk, they are somehow going to work it into the overall Pantheon story. Now, we also know that the next Black Ops game, Black Ops 7, is set to take place in the year 2030. In other words, after the events of Black Ops 2. And I'm willing to bet they're going to try to get Verdansk to stick around during that time too. So my guess is for the rest of the seasons of Black Ops 6, we will be going throughout Verdansk, putting together intel on Pantheon that Jason Hudson found there in the year 1989, right before his untimely demise in Panama. And somehow, whatever we end up finding out about Pantheon is going to tell us that they are still there in present day. Hence, the story of Black Ops 7 will once again be about Pantheon, and we'll find out by the end of Verdansk and finding all the intel that, yeah, Pantheon is still around in present day. But meanwhile, our characters like Ghost and Mace who are there are following Jason Hudson's breadcrumbs and footsteps that he found within Verdansk. That's a complete speculation, but I think it all lines up. Now, here's what's not speculation. The rest of the story that we were given after the campaign all revolved around Avalon and our characters like Savati Dumas and Troy Marshall hunting down the various different families and trying to get things to work with that. Now, all of a sudden, as Verdansk comes, we have a brand new story with Jason Hudson, these breadcrumbs leading to Pantheon, and clearly no mention whatsoever of Avalon or these crime families. It is clear that the story from this point forward has shifted completely, and essentially the first two season stories don't seem to matter, at least as of right now, whatsoever. So that is the season 3 story explained. There is a ton of unanswered questions, like what did Jason Hudson know? How did he know to leave these tapes? Who did he know was inside Pantheon, and how did it get him killed, and how were they messed up with Menendez and maybe even Perseus? And it's an interesting story moving forward. But the one thing that we do on this channel, I think better than any other, is story. So if you want to stay up to date on the story, be sure to subscribe, turn notifications on. There's going to be a lot coming with Verdansk. There's a couple characters that they added in season 3 that have pretty interesting backstories as well. So you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed. You're going to want to make sure you have notifications on. If you enjoy the story videos, hit that like button. And until next time, peace.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're